There we go. Alright, alright. Hang on.
Bruh.
That's for me. I'm an idiot. Alright, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Doghouse. I am your host, the Big Dog. Damn right, damn right. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. And for those of you wondering, because I know you're all going to be wondering, yo, why does your stream starting screen look different than the other one? Than what we're used to? Well, because, ladies and gentlemen, I am an idiot. And I actually deleted my other screen by mistake. So I had to get a whole new theme. Hence why it looks like this. So let me give myself another one of these, because I'm, again, a fucking moron.
Bruh.
There we go. Alright, so make sure when you're coming in to hit this Twitch channel with, or not hit, but bless this Twitch channel with a follow. That would be greatly appreciated. Eventually I'm going to set up to where you guys can subscribe, if I even get to that point. And also, ow, I cut myself. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube channel where I upload all the episodes of the Doghouse for those of you who do miss it. Because I know there are some people who do want to watch it, but they're like, nah, man, I gotta work. I got you, fam. Just hit the YouTube channel. But, today, I'm gonna do something a little different today. We're gonna be watching a video, a fairly long video, by a YouTuber, the Act Man. Shout out to the Act Man. Let's give him a Don DeMarco. Why the fuck not? Don DeMarco for the fucking Act Man, baby. But yeah, in all seriousness, a video that I kind of can relate to an extent. Granted, he's probably a lot older than I am, but I kind of get where his viewpoint is. Now, for those of you who don't know, I have been a gamer for a minute, ever since I was a little kid. My first console, I believe, was either an N64 or a PS2. Because I remember getting the PS2. I loved the thing. I used to play. There would be times where I'd play video games. I'd get in trouble for playing video games, man. Shit. But that's beside the point. That is besides the point. Anyway. Now, for those of you who know, I recently have not been playing video games on my Twitch channel as of late. I did play the RE8 demo. Thought it wasn't a bad game, but it wasn't really up my alley. There's that. Recently I've tried to play a little more of Destiny 2, but unfortunately, one, work has been kicking my ass. And two, I don't know, it's not interesting me anymore. I'm not going to return the game, but I don't feel like really playing it anymore. And I would say that one of the bigger reasons why I haven't been gaming as of late is, well, there haven't been that many great games to come out as of late. I mean, yeah, for those of you who are going to say, well, but Resident Evil 8 was good. You're right. I'm not saying it was a bad game, it just wasn't up my alley. I'm not into that horror stuff, man. If you are, Godspeed to you, but that's not me. And when I played Cyberpunk, honestly, it was fun for a minute, but that ended up being a dud. Like, yo, what the fuck happened with Cyberpunk, man? But anyway, let's get on with the video. Let's switch to the main screen. Yo, that transition is awesome. Alright, let's get this going.
Playing video games ever since I was 3. I've been playing video games ever since I was 3 years old. when my parents substituted a Game Boy Color and Pokemon Blue in place of a babysitter. As I grew up, there was so much to love about gaming. I got to play and experience countless amazing titles and witness the industry as it grew and evolved. After playing something like Oblivion or BioShock, Halo 3, I would just kind of sit there and wonder, what's next? However, in the last 9 or so years, it feels like in many ways, the quality of video games, and especially AAA titles, has declined. The industry is always creating something new, innovative, and epic. Gaming as a medium has evolved very quickly in the 35 or so years it's been around. And while there are so many great aspects to love about this hobby, just consider this a more pessimistic take on the state of gaming. So what is it that has caused the decline of gaming? No, it's not these old Flash cartoons, but they did inspire the name. It's the same thing that ruins so much of this beautiful world of ours. Insatiable greed.
I activate Pot of Greed! This card allows me to
implement microtransactions into Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Just to clarify, these are my opinions, based on the facts that I've researched and observed. If I get something wrong, please feel free to let me know, which I'm sure you all will. For every negative thing that has happened to video games, you could argue an equally positive benefit has occurred, and that's a fair point. Greed is the driving force of this decline. But it gets tricky, because greed, in this case, takes on several forms. No, it's not an overweight Italian man with a ridiculous mustache, it's something both subtle and straightforward. Let's not waste any more time on a pleasant intro. Let's jump straight into this. Perceiving the decline. Is it in our heads? It's challenging and overwhelming to tackle the core issues that plague a multi-billion-dollar industry. With so many different companies, developers, publishers, programmers, industry. With so many different companies, developers, publishers, programmers spread all over the world, is it possible to categorize and identify this decline? Yes! All we need to do is follow the money. So let me just list some things you probably noticed and we'll elaborate on them down the line. 1. An increase in buggy, glitchy games. Big budget releases often have a botched launch and are forced to rely on updates to fix their issues.
True.
Number 2, an overabundance of remakes, remasters, and sequels. Number 3, the corporatization of gaming. The conduct of major companies, publishers, and developers. And of course, number 4, the obvious influx of RNG loot boxes being forced into every genre of game, and increasingly aggressive monetization schemes. It could be that our own minds play a factor in this as well. Possibly we see the game industry as being worse because we had it so good in the past. Is all the disappointment we have caused simply by us growing older and more jaded? It's entirely possible the negativity we associate with modern gaming is outweighing the more positive innovations that have been made. Games look better, the stories more epic, characters are represented so realistically, animation vastly improved. My point is, try not to become too overwhelmed with nostalgia for the glory days. And remember that your perception plays a huge part in this decline. What do and don't you have?
Should I play that game, guys? The Phoenix Wright series? Let me know.
Have a problem with? That's for you to figure out. But now that we got a solid base for this topic, let's dive deep into the decline of gaming. Complacency. Pleased, especially with oneself or one's merits, advantages, situation, often without awareness of some potential danger or defect, self-satisfied. Complacency is probably the biggest deterrent to innovation and quality game design. The perfect example is Valve.
Yep. Unfortunately. We used to make video games.
Once known for their unconventional methods of game design and their repertoire of critically acclaimed releases, so many instant classics that to this day are viewed as some of the greatest games of all time. But what about since then?
Looks like there's been a change of plans.
Well, Valve has not made a new game since Portal 2, 8 years ago, and the last time they even
Damn, that's 10 years ago now. Shit.
launched a new IP was Left 4 Dead. That was 11 years ago. But let's take a quick look at the games they've launched since then. CSGO, a remake of Counter-Strike Source, which was a remake of the original Counter-Strike. Dota 2, a remake of the Dota mod for Warcraft 3. Counter-Strike Online 2, Koreans only. Counter-Strike Nexon Zombies, free-to-play zombie shooter, no thanks. Left 4 Dead Survivors, Japanese only. The Lab, a series of 8 VR minigames that was more or less just an experiment. Dota Underlords, a mobile version of Dota Auto Chess. Do I need to elaborate?
Please don't.
This is the same company that made Half-Life 2, and yet Valve is just content with developing these unremarkable titles? You can really sum up the disappointment gamers have had with this company in the Artifact reveal. Everyone was so hyped to see what Valve was working on. It had been so many years since they came out with a new kick-ass game, and when they revealed it, everyone lost all interest.
Bruh.
Hang on. I gotta do it.
Bruh.
You stink!
A Dota 2 card game. Now the question is, why did Valve stop making actual games?
Steam.
What happened to their ambition? Well, as of March 2015, Valve makes $18 million per month off Dota 2 alone. Valve is also, by ratio, one of the most profitable companies with the fewest employees in America, earning roughly $300,000 per employee. They make 30% of every sale off Steam. They're just rolling in the moolah right now. The chimichangas, the gold bars. If you're making tons of money selling the same thing for 7 years and you're a businessman, well, why would you stop? Why would you take the risk and time to develop and sell a brand new product when you can simply maintain your current products
Rockstar.
and watch the profits get dumped straight into your bank account? Oh hey Bethesda, how's it going, buddy? Didn't see you there. You still selling Skyrim? There's no question that Valve fans will eat up whatever new game they put out, provided it's the type of game people want. As a consumer, you'd buy Portal 3, you'd buy Left 4 Dead 3, and you'd most certainly buy Half-Life 3. Long
I
awaited
tried to play Portal 2, man. Game could not run on my
and pretty
computer.
much dead, Half-Life 3 is a perfect example of complacency.
I got nothing to say about Half-Life.
Despite the critical acclaim and unrelenting hype for this title, you'd think Half-Life 3 would be at the top of Valve's priority list. But it never was. Instead, we're getting a VR game. And while it's cool they're finally making another Half-Life, all I can think is, what about the games that people want? You see, Valve and even some other companies need to take lessons from Bono. You know, don't ever stop trying to be in the limelight, keep pushing forward to infinity and beyond. Bethesda and Rockstar are another 2 clear-cut examples
What did I tell you?
of how complacency has creeped into the video game industry. The undisputed masters of reselling the same product in as many forms possible. After Grand Theft Auto 5, Rockstar basically did nothing except update the game and port their old games to different platforms. Until 5 years later, they released Red Dead Redemption 2. Now again, I'm not saying these are bad games, but if you look back in the 5 years from 2001 to 2006, they were putting out hot shit like GTA 3, Vice City, Midnight Club 2, Manhunt, Red Dead Revolver, The Warriors, and Bully. Rockstar used to experiment and try new
I gotta play Bully, man.
things, developing several IPs at a time and building a library of games to their name. But now they've gotten complacent. Bethesda, meanwhile, had a 5-year wait between Oblivion and Skyrim. That felt like forever, but oh my god, it was worth it. Skyrim was amazing. It flew off the shelves like crazy. All my friends were playing it, and now it's been 8 years since Skyrim, and we basically have no news, gameplay, or anything regarding Elder Scrolls 6. After New Vegas, it took Bethesda 5 years to come out with Fallout 4, a product that was very polarizing amongst the Fallout fanbase, and then 76 releases. Do you see this decline? It's this complacency, this lack of desire to innovate and create new things that has led to some of our favorite game companies releasing new games far more infrequently. And when they do, it's either something you don't care about or it's just another sequel. Despite nearly every single game company falling prey to complacency, almost none of this applies to Nintendo, who have stuck to their roots and continue to evolve and release new games that blow us away. Nintendo is still doing things the old-fashioned way and making a shit ton of money, while these other game companies are doing things the easy way. Because if it's broken but makes a shitload of money, why fix it? The abundance of remakes and remasters. It's a fact that gaming has followed certain trends throughout the years. You had arcades where you paid quarters for entertainment. In the NES days, it was all about side-scrolling platformers. The SNES and Sega Genesis were all about graphics. Eventually, we had online gaming, rhythm games, battle royale. So many trends have come and gone. Some have stayed, but occasionally a certain style of game is perceived as no longer profitable or appealing to the mainstream. 3D platformers, for instance, have long fallen out of favor outside of Mario. In this case, instead of developing a brand new game in a genre that's considered dead, companies will choose to remaster or remake their old ones. And would you look at that, they become hella popular. Who would have thought? Spyro Reignited and Insane Trilogy were incredible remasters. And since those were so successful, don't you think people would be even more happy to see a brand new game starring the Purple Dragon or Lovable Bandicoot? But there's been no such announcement, aside from a remaster of Crash Team Racing. You can do pretty incredible things with a remake. Sometimes it turns an outdated game into something completely new, effectively remaking it to be as good as you thought it was back then. Remakes are a great way for new gamers to experience the magic of the past, without the daunting task of playing something that looks like this. Or it can be a method for the developers to add onto their old project and give it some new bells and whistles. A remaster is capable of bringing old games up to speed with several quality of life changes and making it the definitive way to experience an old title. It can be pretty awesome when they port something to a newer console so that you don't have to buy an old expensive copy of it, like Symphony of the Night and other Castlevania games being ported to Xbox. That shit's cool. The problem arises when companies become more content to resell you their old games than they are to make new ones. It's become a meme. How many different versions of Skyrim Bethesda has churned out? Legendary Edition, Skyrim Special Edition, Remastered, Skyrim on Switch, Skyrim now with mods, Skyrim for VR. In April 2013, Bethesda announced via their blog that they were moving on from Skyrim and preparing to work on other projects. Yeah, that's a fucking laugh. Skyrim Pinball Edition. At moments, some remasters just bank off your nostalgia and try to parade their old game as something new by slapping an HD at the end of the title. All I'm saying is, there weren't a whole lot of remakes or remasters back on the N64, PlayStation, Xbox, PS2, or GameCube. And that's because they were focused on creating new games. In fact, I can only think of one remaster from those consoles. Conquer Live and Reloaded, which made the game look so freaking sexy. The visuals are still impressive to this day, and they even launched a brand new multiplayer mode that was just awesome. But nowadays, some remasters are just a shameless cash grab, where you can see a side-by-side comparison and notice no difference. But hey, at least they added some extra dirt on the glass for BioShock Remastered. Take my $40. Remember the original port of Dark Souls on Steam? Yeah, it was so fucking lazy and busted they didn't even swap out the button prompts from the Xbox 360 version. I mean, holy shit. And then From Software comes out with Dark Souls Remastered, an actual, real port of the game. And they charge people $40 to play Dark Souls with a revitalized PvP community. And even DS Remastered didn't bother to fix several game-breaking glitches, highlighted in this wonderful Inferno Plus video. Companies will also take it a step further. EA turned Dungeon Keeper into a blatant pay-to-win dumpster fire mobile game. Activision not only released Modern Warfare Remastered bundled with Infinite Warfare, but later added...
Oh, I remember that. I remember this. People were fuming. I played Infinite Warfare. The campaign wasn't that bad.
Activision not only released Modern Warfare Remastered bundled with Infinite Warfare, but later added loot boxes and paid weapons into a game that didn't have those things in 2007. Some games like Sleeping Dogs, Last of Us will come out with a remaster 1 or 2 years after it released. You expect me to believe technology advanced so far in that time span that a 1-year-old game is now considered out of date? It's nice to improve a game's stability, frame rate, and resolution, but is all that really worth buying the exact same product again? My point is, a lot of companies aren't willing to take risks anymore. It's disheartening to remember a time when the original Xbox was a haven of original, awesome, exclusive titles, and now the Xbox One doesn't even seem to be competing. This trend of lazy remasters and remakes brings me to my next point. Chasing trends. Early access. Hey guys, please excuse the shitty quality of this section. My video is still in early access, and you can donate to my Patreon to help fund my willingness to sit at a computer and edit. In an effort to capitalize on whatever is currently most popular, plenty of game studios will just shamelessly rip off others or rush out some basic-ass shell of a game. Remember Lawbreakers? Man, didn't do so hot trying to copy Overwatch. So how about Boss Key Productions just copies Fortnite and PUBG and launch a shitty battle royale? That should bring in the money. Radical Heights, good god. Oh wow, this battle royale craze is really taken off. Let's release a brand new game that's completely fucked, abandon our old one, and alienate our fan base. The Culling 2 proved just how desperate some developers really are. Of course, it would take too much time and effort to fix PUBG before porting it to Xbox, so they just, oh my god, burn it. Burn it all. They somehow made it work.
I remember that. I remember seeing that for the first time. I'm like, yo, what the fuck am I looking
Xbox,
at?
so they just, oh my god, burn it. Burn it all. They somehow made it worse. It's kind of shocking how a company that made all the money in King Tut's castle didn't use any of it to improve the game. Instead, they just wanted more. And then Titanfall made advanced movement popular. Well shit, of course Call of Duty and Halo has to adapt that into their games, even if the developers don't understand what makes the movement good, even if it compromises the design style and identity of their franchises. Just copy it. I don't care if it works, if it's unintuitive, janky, and sucks ass, just copy them. Do what they're doing. A lot of these game series used to kind of just go their own way, and I miss that. The term early access has now been hijacked by companies who are too lazy to call their games complete, or admit they're never gonna finish them. It used to mean you had early access to the game, and often it was like an indie title led by a small team that you understood didn't have the big budget some other games have and needed additional funding. But now all it means is the game is going to be a buggy mess and you can't be mad at them because hey, it's just in early access. Even if they make billions of dollars, Bluehole and Epic will continue to call Fortnite and PUBG early access titles. Then you got all those shitty-ass zombie survival games. My buddy brought over 7 Days to Die one time, and after playing it for 5 minutes, I was like, dude, you got fucking scammed. You buy this shit from Jose in the back alley behind a strip club? Like, what the fuck is this? Once esports really started to take off, developers started tailoring their games to be competitive. Everyone wanted their product to break into esports territory, and that can really mess with the project's vision. When all you're worried about is chasing the most popular trends and the cash flow, you get all these half-assed games releasing, and suddenly the desire to create something new is replaced with the desire to copy others. Games as a service, updates, online only, broken launches, etc. The ability to patch a game after its release was one of the biggest revolutions in game development, allowing teams to continue their work before going gold. Bug fixes, balance updates, and more were now possible. Even when a game comes out and you buy it on launch day, it has an update, because the developers are still working on it after they started shipping copies. Nowadays, you can fix, tweak, and save your ass as a developer with this luxury of post-launch support. Overwatch is a prime example of when it's utilized well. It needed several updates to become what it is today. Without them, most people would have gotten bored of the game. The idea of constantly adding new content and features to engage players and keep them coming back is good for both the gamers and the companies. However, it's when the games as a service philosophy starts enveloping every stage of design, when developers rely too much on fixing the game and adding to it after launch, that we see gaming decline. Halo 5 Guardians straight out the gate had like a 7-month plan of content. Why didn't you work that into the 3 years of development you had? You compare Spec Ops and Modern Warfare 2 and 3, and there's no mistake that everybody prefers those versions to the 2019 version, where it now takes Infinity Ward 1 month to get 2 missions out. 10 years ago, they launched a game with 23 of them. The difference is crystal clear in how games are developed. You look at something like KOTOR 2, Halo 2, and Smash Bros. Melee. These games all had hellish development cycles that devoured the lives of the people working on them. These heroes sacrificed time with their families just to complete the game when it was supposed to be done, so that we, the consumers, got the best product possible. Despite the many bugs, glitches, and general lack of polish in these 3 highly anticipated sequels, They turned out phenomenal, because neither Obsidian, Bungie, or Nintendo could depend on simply fixing the game after the fact. Not having that luxury put the pressure on. Now with the luxury of post-launch support, compare the content from Halo 2 to the latest game, Guardians. At launch, Halo 5 had 4 game modes, the lowest in the series, and it took a whole year of updates to make Halo 5 a somewhat complete package.
Wow.
What Halo 2 accomplished in its 3 years of development back in 2004, Halo 5 needed an extra year after it was already out in 2015. But this isn't just exclusive to Halo, it happens to every game series, where the gears stop turning and something as simple as launching a game in a playable state becomes an urban legend, a myth. Bad Company 2 launches perfectly and works fine. Then DICE drops Battlefield 3, 4, and Battlefront 2, which all had nightmarish issues and simply didn't work. It gets so ridiculous to the point where you wonder if the games they put out are actually illegal because the product doesn't work as advertised. Then you got something like COD World War II, where even the menus didn't work. You look at how Mass Effect 1 came out back in 2007, pretty damn good. Mass Effect Andromeda 10 years later somehow looked worse and was a glitch-ridden disaster. Diablo 1 and 2, absolute masterpieces. Diablo 3 is coming out. People have been waiting over a decade to experience this game. It releases an Error 37. You can't play the game until Blizzard figures their shit out. Then you had Dead Island, where the developers completely fucked up and released the wrong version of the game. How does that happen? SimCity was made to be always online, except you couldn't connect to EA's shitty-ass servers. Batman Arkham Knight was knowingly pushed out onto PC despite the publishers knowing it was a terrible port with horrific frame rate issues. I'm not saying every game from the glory days launched in a perfect
Let me know if you want to see me play this again.
state, but these unplayable disasters happen far less frequently, and at the time, I was way more forgiving of them. And then we arrive at the Master Chief Collection, which was a testament to just how broken you could release a game and somehow not be investigated by the Better Business Bureau. This atrocity was so unplayable, I'm surprised there was no class action lawsuit filed. The new cutscenes by Blur were jaw-dropping, but it's hardly any consolidation when nothing worked. Menus were fucked, game glitches everywhere, impossible to find games, ranking system constantly resetting. 343 needed like 3 or 4 years to make MCC a consistently playable game. 3 to 4 years after I bought the game, I was finally able to play it the way they promised I could.
So Halo 2 Anniversary will contain the original Halo 2 multiplayer exactly as it shipped 10 years ago.
Though this is a subjective point, take a look at these MMORPGs. World of Warcraft changed the gaming landscape as we knew it and really gave rise to the games as a service philosophy with monthly subscriptions, new expansions. It was a nice source of cash flow, and for players that enjoyed the game, it was the greatest thing ever. WoW has been consistently supported for like 15 years, and that's great. But here's an important point hardly ever mentioned. Warcraft as a series has been an MMORPG longer than it has been a real-time strategy. Despite 3 games with multiple expansions, the reason Warcraft 4 does not exist is because WoW does. Similarly, the reason why Knights of the Old Republic 3 does not exist is because the Old Republic does. Elder Scrolls 6 does not exist yet because they've been working on Elder Scrolls Online. For better or worse, these incredible series of games have converted to the games as a service philosophy. They've turned their backs on their roots. EA is infamous for shutting down several game studios, including Visceral, who were working on a single-player Star Wars game. But because single-player games can't really be made into a service, EA saw this venture as not as profitable and shut it down. It's actually surprising when something like Jedi Fallen Order comes out with no caveats and is a genuinely great game. But in the 6 or so years EA has had the rights to Star Wars, this is the first single-player game they've put out. Flashback to the early 2000s, oh baby, Jedi Academy, Republic Commando, KOTOR 1 and 2, Episode 3 game, Lego Star Wars, Bounty Hunter, Obi-Wan, Force Unleashed, Battlefront 1 and 2, Empire at War. Star Wars games were off the fucking hook, but EA is just complacent now. We live in a time where the updates a game goes through are more impactful than the actual release. And it's this ship it now, fix it later mentality that is allowing companies to churn out so many titles that suck straight ass when they come out. A video game should never be a gamble where the consumer doesn't know if it's gonna function or not. Corporatization, anti-consumer. Probably the worst thing about the decline of gaming is the corporatization of it. The game industry is becoming more and more controlled by some board of directors who don't see this hobby as you or I do. They aren't thinking, how can we make the best game possible? How can we make our fans happy? They're thinking, how can we make the most money with the least amount of effort? There are investors to please, deadlines to meet. Game development used to be just a bunch of nerds pooling their talents and creativity to make something incredible, something they would want to play. Corporatization has been sucking the life and soul out of gaming, and this is illustrated by the complete lack of originality in the cover art of games. Check out this video by Nakey Jakey, it's really good, but it showcases a greater point: the lack of soul. It'd be foolish to condemn all pre-order bonuses, microtransactions, DLC, etc., because only a Sith deals in absolutes. But you're the consumer. What do you want? Do you want cool, meaningful, cosmetic unlockables that showcase your accomplishments? Okay, what's the ideal way for the player to unlock them? Ask yourself this question first. Is this good for the player? Is it good for the player to unlock gameplay-altering abilities or cosmetic items in monetized randomized loot boxes? Is that a form of progression and unlocks that is beneficial to the player? Of course not. So why do companies include it? Because the well-being of the consumer and the quality of the experience is secondary to what's most profitable. Back during the 360, PS3, and Wii generation, players noticed there was a lot more downloadable content than the previous generation. In fact, the GameCube didn't even connect to the internet. But now it seems like loot boxes are far more numerous. That's because companies realized DLC was only a one-time purchase. But what if there was a way to turn players into payers? Consistently doing that would yield high results. Then you got all those season passes where companies want you to put up $50 based on a promise. As video games become more and more expensive to make, the price of a new release has stayed the same for decades. And while any business, big or small, needs to make a profit, the lengths some companies go to monetize their games is absurd. Sometimes being so greedy to the point where they will compromise the design of their game. 343 and Creative Assembly went so far in this direction, crafting a mode specifically to integrate loot boxes into Halo Wars 2 and create a pay-to-win model. Madden and FIFA Ultimate Teams. Wow, those are so cool. Ruined by pay-to-win loot boxes. Battlefield 1 and 4 offering literal shortcuts through the progression system. Think about that for a second. The designers created the system of XP, how it is earned, how much it takes to unlock things, and then decided to monetize a way for players to skip it entirely. Bungie literally cutting and reselling parts of Destiny 1 and 2 as DLC, making shaders consumable so players will have to buy them again, was not a decision made for the benefit of the player. Forza 5 offering just as many payable cars as ones you earn in-game. The list of DLC for The Sims alone is fucking staggering. Middle-earth Shadow of War, a single-player game, chose the loot box method of delivering rewards to players. Dead Space 3 interrupting the game to ask you to buy more parts. Train Simulator 2015 offering over $4,000 of DLC. Purchasable weapons in Black Ops 4 giving people an advantage. Microsoft charging you to remove ads on Solitaire. Fucking microtransactions in Solitaire. Then for some games, it can get so bad that functional microtransactions become more important than a functional game. I couldn't get into matches in COD World War II when it came out, but you bet your ass I could buy loot boxes. And then Fallout 76. Wow. Easily one of the most embarrassing, blatant, empty cash grabs the industry has ever seen. Do you, as a player, want to have sections of the video game you bought sealed into randomized crates that are paid for with real money? Hell no.
Alright, I think I've bored you enough with this video. Well, the video is not boring. It's actually fair.
There's always a better...
Fuck. It's actually fairly interesting, and... shout out to the Hackman, and I would... let's give him another Don DeMarco. And I would recommend you watch the full video, or rewatch it if you'd like, at your own leisure, because it does give a lot of insight into the gaming industry and what really went wrong and why one of the big reasons why I haven't been gaming a lot as of late, because quite frankly, I'm not finding anything interesting to play anymore. So, that's it for tonight, my loyal and faithful viewers. Thank you for joining me on this another episode of the Doghouse, starring your homeboy the Big Dog, and I will see you later. Peace.